Welcome to Curiosity on the Move, where we prove it's never too late to learn something new. I'm Lee, and I'm on a mission to try things I've always wondered about and to take you along for the ride. The world is full of skills, sports, hobbies, and adventures just waiting for curious minds like ours. And here's the bonus. Learning new things isn't just fun, it's one of the best ways to keep our brains healthy and engaged as we age. So, whether you're looking for a new passion, a way to meet people, or just want to keep that mental sharpness, you're in the right place. So, this week we're talking about aerial yoga. For once, I didn't find it in an Instagram post. I actively went and searched for a studio that had aerial yoga. When I was younger, I practiced yoga quite a bit, so I figured I could certainly hang with this crowd, pun intended. And it was always something that just kind of interested me, doing yoga a little bit differently. So I searched online and came across Out on a Limb Circus Arts in West Ashley. I looked at their schedule, and sure enough, there was an aerial yoga class on a Saturday morning. Perfect, fit in great. So I signed up and went off that weekend. And I was nervous, not just for the aerial part of it, but of course, trying anything new in a facility I had never been to and with people I had never met. And I'm sure most people can picture in their head what they believe a typical yogi to be. And when I arrived, yes, there were a number of some very tiny 20 somethings, but there were also lots of ladies my age and older who had clearly been coming to this yoga class for quite some time. So it felt okay to start. But again, I was definitely nervous. I was wondering if I could actually do this, but got started. The studio itself is a wonderful space. It's interesting to see all the different apparatus that are around, including trapeze way up in the ceiling. Part of me wishes they were down. You could play on them, but you can't. So this is a very it's different, but it's traditional. So you're doing traditional yoga poses, but you're using a soft fabric hammock. And that hammock really supports your body weight. And that really helps deepen stretches. And you can also then perform inversions. You're hanging upside down without having that kind of spinal pressure, which for me is a good thing. Um, I don't go upside down too much anymore. I'm not sure a heck of a lot of people my age would think about it, but it's actually extremely beneficial to be upside down every once in a while. So we got started, and it was so wonderful to stretch the way I haven't stretched in probably a lot of years. As I've gotten older, I've certainly focused more on strength, building strength. Everybody's talking, you're getting older, you got to take better care of your bones, and strength is the way to go about it. But the stretching is still something so important. But let me emphasize, this is really a full body workout. You are not just stretching, but when you are in inversions, there's a lot of conditioning. You have to haul yourself up by your arms. You are sitting up using your core muscles. So it is definitely an all around exercise. But it isn't just exercise, it is also a performing art. You can get very creative. I had a blast. Thankfully, none of you could see any video of me doing this, but just spinning, getting upside down and spinning in circles, swinging back and forth. It just honestly was so much fun. So it definitely has hooked me. I have been back now for several classes and ultimately will be moving on into more of their aerial arts classes as well. So it's not just that physical challenge, but it's just so unique and it's so much fun. So, to get a better idea of what aerial yoga actually is and how it differs from mat yoga, I asked my instructor, Harper, if she would sit down for an interview and discuss her experience and how she got into teaching and some of the physical and mental benefits of aerial yoga. How did you discover aerial yoga?
So I have kind of a weird story of how I got into it. When I was younger, my parents actually took me to the studio we're sitting in when it was called Aerial Fit, and I tried slings out. But I only did a few classes, and I was a competitive dancer. And then I went to college and I wasn't really working out. It was during COVID and nobody was doing anything, and I wanted to start finding something fun, but classes were so intimidating for me. Just walking into a bar or yoga class, I was intimidated. So I looked for something fun and I remembered aerial yoga. And I was like, oh, let me try it out. And so then I got an unlimited membership at the studio, and that's how I started.
Awesome. Well, were you a traditional yogi first? Had you been doing yoga for a while?
I was not a traditional yogi at first, and it actually ended up pushing me into getting my yoga certification. And I have 200 hours, and I'm working on my 500 hour right now. So now I am a traditional yogi.
So how long have you been teaching?
So I've been teaching for about 5 years now of just aerial yoga. I started teaching vinyasa about 4 years ago, a year after I got certified, and I became an instructor kind of out of luck and just the right time, right place. They were looking for an instructor, and I was trying to figure out how I could be more involved with it. So that's how I started for about 5 years.
So for someone who's never seen aerial yoga, and I certainly hadn't, and this, I think today was my, fourth class since I've been here. So how would you describe it without making it sound scary?
It does sound, and when people ask me about it, they're like, what even is that? So I describe it as, imagine you're doing yoga and a sling hanging from the air is your prop. It's not an extra tool or an addition to it. It's kind of like a block you would use. You get the same benefits, but just a little bit more with spinal decompression and everything that comes with aerial yoga. So I tell them it's more of a fun alternative to yoga where you sometimes hang upside down.
What is the biggest misconception that people have when they walk into their first class?
There's a few. One of the biggest ones I've had is that we're going to be doing circus stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna make you flip. I'm not gonna do anything that's terrifying for you. This is more about making you feel good, or that you have to be strong or flexible or come from a yoga background. That's the biggest misconception people have, is that they need to be already fit to go into this. And that's completely wrong in my opinion.
And you described the silk as basically just a prop, but how else is aerial yoga different from mat yoga? Traditional yoga.
So there's a lot of, one thing I love about the sling is that it is joint and mobile friendly. So it helps you get into hip openers. It's more accessible to people than just being on the floor, and you use gravity. So the biggest thing is circulation. It helps improve circulation in the body because you are getting those inversions, and with those inversions, like a straddle back, I'm sure you felt it in class, that spinal decompression, and you're not hurting your neck, so it's letting you actually release and get possibly the best stretch you can.
And so that's part of the physical benefits
Yes.
of it. Are there any other, we talked a little bit more, that's more flexibility in terms of just being able to sink into a pose, decompress the spine. What about strength, lifting?
Strength you can do, so it's all would be body weight. So we do a lot of pull-ups, and core and upper body are huge, as well as lower body. So how I kind of do my classes is I like to make sure I target one area overall. So I do a lot of core mobility. Today we did something where we did some pull-ups from the ground. We did some pull-ups standing up, negative pull-ups. And it's really easy to change the levels that you do when you do aerial yoga. So that's why it's accessible to building strength. And your back will look awesome.
Right, well, good. I'm building up to it.
Yeah.
I'm getting, I feel, even after 4,
Yeah.
I would say that I am definitely feeling a bit stronger.
There's a lot of mental benefits as well,
Yes.
the confidence that you feel when we've had, today there was a student in class who was very nervous last week and then came in this week and is having the time of their life. And that's one thing, is the confidence, self-efficacy, just builds with these kind of practices.
So, as you heard from Harper, just to finish on her antidote of this student in class who, by the second time they came, they were so much more comfortable. The confidence had just skyrocketed. The willingness to move into different postures and to really learn some new movements was incredible to see. And I very much felt the same way myself. Once you trust the hammock that it is supporting you, it allows you to get into so many more movements that you didn't think you'd otherwise be able to get into. So while it's challenging, and I always love a challenge, this studio does have other aerial disciplines, and I was quite interested in those as well. So I sat down with Lauren, one of the co owners of Out on a Limb Circus Arts, to talk about her story, building the business, the different offerings the studio has, the students, the space, the community, and the culture. How did you end up opening this facility?
So this was an aerial studio prior to me opening Out on a Limb. It was Aerial Fit, who had been here for about 10 to 13 years, and I actually trained here as a student for many, many, many years, and the owners decided to move to Finland.
Oh,
They have an online business, and I took over the lease. I opened a new business in here, kind of renovated the space. This whole lofted area over here is brand new. And just, I didn't want the aerial community to die here, so I wanted to open up the aerial space.
how long has Out on a Limb been the business
We
here?
actually, this is our 6th-month anniversary. So we opened in the middle of August. We're still relatively
Oh,
new, and
okay.
so we're still trying to get the word out about the studio, that we exist back here, and trying to get students in the door.
Awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that new. And I don't know that I'd heard of Aerial Fit before, but I wasn't looking for
Exactly,
it either.
exactly. Aerial is a very niche, I guess, hobby.
So when you first opened up or reopened up this business as Out on a Limb, what was the response?
Oh, extremely positive response. We've had the aerial community here established already. Lots of people that had been training in the studio prior to it being Out on a Limb returned. A lot of new students coming in, taking our intro series. And we've just been growing every single month. We started a youth program that was really, really great last semester. It actually starts back for our spring program next week. So the response has been fantastic.
So obviously I spoke with Harper earlier about aerial yoga, but what else does Out on a Limb offer?
Oh, all the things, all of the circus things. So we have an Intro to Aerial series, like I mentioned prior, that introduces all of the various apparatuses that we have in the studio. We teach classes in aerial silk, aerial sling, which is the same apparatus that the aerial yoga classes use. We have aerial hoop, which is a lyra. It's a steel hoop. That's my main apparatus I perform on. And we have partner acro as well.
So when folks come here to take these classes, do they usually stick to one particular discipline or are they kind of bouncing between them?
It really depends on the student. Most students will choose, once if they've gone through the intro series, for example, we introduce all of the different apparatuses, and then you can graduate to level 1 in any of the apparatuses. But we always encourage our students to cross-train as much as possible. It just helps you gain strength and confidence on the apparatus, depending on any of the apparatuses that you're training in.
Is there a particular class that's more popular than another? Or a particular apparatus that's more popular?
It kind of goes in waves. So for a long time, even before the studio was open, just in general, silks has been the most popular. It's also the most recognizable as a circus apparatus. But then the hoop actually has been pretty popular recently. So it just kind of goes in waves as to what's the most popular class.
And you'd mentioned that after you kind of take the intro class, people then maybe pick a particular apparatus, but is there a natural progression at all that if somebody moves from silks to hoop, or is it really just we're just picking one and sticking with it?
There's not necessarily a progression where you would graduate from one apparatus to the other. It's more just cross training because you are using similar muscle groups on different apparatuses, but on the hoop, of course, you can kind of sit in the hoop, and where with a vertical apparatus like a rope or the silks, it's a lot of upper body, but also using your legs a lot more than you might in the hoop.
And obviously, I'm here so far. All I've been doing is the aerial yoga, but I do have every intention of coming back and starting the intro to aerial. I'm over the age of 50. I always announce that I'm past a point, but do you see folks like me coming into the facility? Is it all ages? Is there a typical student?
I would say the beauty of the studio is that it is for everybody and everybody. So we encourage anyone to come in of any age to try aerial. It's absolutely approachable. We have many students that are in your age group that come in and are really, really successful. And it's just a very empowering experience. That's one of the reasons why I started aerial. I had no experience or background in dance or gymnastics. And I started aerial when I was almost 30. So I wasn't one of these little extra bendy kiddos that was coming in and have been doing this for years and years, and I had just fell in love with it.
Culturally, in the other classes or just in the studio in general, how are folks? Is it a competitive nature? People competing? They're very supportive as everybody's getting to learn new skills? What is the kind of the nature of the culture here?
Yeah, so with the studio, we try to set ourselves apart by emphasizing non-competitive practice. So there's plenty of opportunities in the area to get that competitive experience or competition experience if you want it. But here, aerial and circus arts are performing arts. And so we really emphasize on building foundational knowledge, learning skills transitions safely, building strength and confidence on the apparatus, and a very encouraging, supportive community instead of competition.
Awesome.
Just nothing wrong with competition, but that's just not our approach here.
Sure. And in closing my conversation with Lauren, I asked her how Out on a Limb kind of fit into the broader Charleston fitness community and what is next for the facility.
Yeah, well, this aerial facility is the only one of its kind. There are other aerial facilities in the general area, but with the height that we have, with the beams that we have, that's one of the benefits to this space, is that it's the only one in the greater, Low Country area.
And you talked about trapeze wasn't something you offered immediately, that there wasn't necessarily demand for it. But is there any plans to, grow the facility? What's coming next?
Oh, absolutely. So we are already working on expanding our youth program. We just started, or actually will be starting, a choreo series at the end of this month. Like I've been emphasizing that aerial and circus is a performing art, so it'll be our first opportunity for our current students to come in and learn the art of performing, and we'll have a big showcase at the end of 12 weeks in May for our youth, and then also for our adult students, so they have the opportunity to perform.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, summer's coming. I know a lot of parents are probably out there also looking for places to put their kids this summer. I know when mine were younger, this was my most dreaded time of year because I was out so much money. But do you do summer camps here?
Yes. So like I mentioned, we did open in August, so we haven't had a full summer yet, but we are absolutely planning on offering summer camps, and we're working on that schedule right now, actually.
Okay. And so what would you say to somebody who is thinking about trying aerial, like myself, but hasn't taken that leap yet? So like, aerial yoga, yes, but for the aerial arts in general, what would you tell them?
I would emphasize that trying aerial, while it definitely appears that it's going to be difficult, that it can be intimidating, that, well, I'm not flexible enough, I'm not strong enough, I don't have the core strength or the upper body strength, and expecting that you need all of those things before coming in, which is absolutely not the case. I myself, like I said, didn't have any experience in either gymnastics or dance or anything like that, and started when I was much older, and didn't have any upper body strength. I couldn't do a single pull up when I started aerial, and now I own an aerial studio. It's just that slow, steady progression over time with the support that we try to provide for our students. You don't need to be able to flip upside down or do a handstand or 5 pull-ups in a row to start aerial. We start you at the very beginning, and just the practice of coming in every week and just getting on the apparatus and trying new things, you are going to gain strength. And if you start taking videos of yourself, even in a few months, you can look back and see how much progress you've made.
I hope you've been able to learn a little bit from Lauren about her business, Out on a Limb Circus. They can be found at outonalimcircus.com, where they have a listing of all their classes they offer. There's also an upcoming retreat in June listed on their website that looks fabulous. And they can also be found on Instagram at outonalimb.circus. In going back to my previous conversation with Harper, in closing, she discussed how she helps her students feel safe and what advice she'd give to any of y'all listening who are curious but are hesitant. So, what's the most challenging part of teaching aerial yoga for you versus teaching in your traditional yoga classes?
I'd say safety and awareness, because there's a lot of things that can happen during a class. So I'm always trying to scan and make sure that everyone feels comfortable. And if I notice someone that doesn't feel comfortable, I really kind of try and sit with them and help them, especially when we do poses that are out of your comfort zone. I try and go over to every single person and make sure that they're doing okay. So keeping up with people and the safety, checking grips, checking where placement is in the body. That's all would be the hardest part. Everything else I love about it. I'm like, yeah, we can do this.
Right. So, have you had students who've come in who are just absolutely terrified to do it, but then, of course, walk out just completely loving it?
100 times. Like, absolutely. So many people that come in are so scared. They're like, I really don't know. My friend talked me into this. And I'm just like, my favorite word is I can't. Or that feels like if you don't want to do a posture, you do not have to do it. I always stress that. But I love when people are like, oh, I actually can't do that. I don't think I can do that. And I'm like, well, why don't you just try it? And then they try it and they realize, oh my gosh, I can do it. The body awareness, that's another, you become so present. You have to be present moment focused, so it forces you kind of to enjoy what you're doing. And seeing the surprise, that's my genuinely favorite thing about it, is seeing someone go from terrified to knowing that thinking they can't do this to watching them attempt it. It's my favorite part of the class.
And what would you tell someone who's never done this before, who's curious, but they're intimidated to come in?
I'd say you do not have to be fearless to try aerial yoga. You just have to be willing to try it. You just have to come in and allow yourself to be silly, allow yourself to mess up. It's okay to be a beginner. That's something I try to stress. It's not a normal thing. Just come and try it, and you'll see if you enjoy it. Awesome.
Well, is there anything else that we haven't touched on you'd like to talk about?
This studio, if you ever want to come and check it out, I teach on Thursdays at 10 a.m. and Saturdays at 8:15, and you can come hang out with us. And you're doing great in the classes, I just want to say.
Thank you.
Today I taught Lee how to do this shoulder stand, and she was doing pikes down to the floor, and I was really impressed.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. It makes me feel good.
No, you did awesome. You're awesome. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Harper.
Thank you.
I certainly have plans to continue. I will be at Aerial Yoga and hope any one of you can come and join me on Saturday mornings. I do plan on starting the aerial arts classes. You have to take a series of 4 before you can move on to level 1 of whichever apparatus you choose. And I'm not quite sure yet which one I think I'd pick. I have gained so much confidence, so much trust in the hammock. I'm already seeing an improvement in my flexibility, and honestly, I thought I'd never see that again. I want to give a great big thank you to Harper for being such a wonderful instructor and to Lauren for building this space, this community of aerial arts, and both of them for letting me interview them. And if you're curious, again, their website is outonalimcircus.com. On their website, you can find their entire class schedule and descriptions of the classes. And I hope to see you out there. I hope you enjoyed this episode on aerial yoga. If you did, please share it with your friends. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for listening. And follow me on Instagram at Curiosity on the Move, where I'll advertise my upcoming episodes. And I hope you'll tune in again.